In 1607, 104 English men and boys founded the first permanent settlement in a foreign and unexplored land that they called the New World. These men did not know it at the time, but the land they now called home had already been home to millions of people for thousands of years. Of course, we all know now that they landed in North America, home to the Native Americans, and the events that followed will be some of the most brutal and atrocious in the history of our species. But, like any story ever written, there are good guys and bad guys. Today, we are going to explore the fascinating life of one of the most interesting and fearless men in the known history of the Native Americans. Crazy Horse was born between the years of 1840 to 1945. Not much is known about his early life, but his father was also named Crazy Horse, and his mother was called Rattling Black Woman. At birth, Crazy Horse's name was Among the Trees, but one account states that after he had reached maturity and shown his strength by killing a buffalo at the age of 12, his father gave Crazy Horse his own name and took a new one for himself. Crazy Horse lived for a while with his uncle Spotted Tail in present-day Wyoming, when in 1854 the camp was entered by 30 US troopers who had come to arrest a man for stealing a cow. The soldiers and the chief of the camp, Conquering Bear, were disputing the crime when another soldier fired his gun. The Lakota warriors started shooting arrows while the leaders tried to take back control of the situation. Conquering Bear was mortally wounded in the combat. Spotted Tail and a band of warriors killed the leader of the troopers and 11 of his men. The remaining soldiers tried to flee, but they were cut off and killed by Lakota warriors. This event was called the Grattan Massacre by the US press, and some historians consider it to be the spark that ignited the following warfare in the Great Plains. After witnessing the death of Conquering Bear, Crazy Horse began to get trance visions. He embarked on a vision quest to seek guidance. In his vision, he saw a warrior ride out of a lake on his horse. He wore simple clothing, no face paint, his hair down with just a single feather in it, and a small brown stone behind his ear. Bullets and arrows flew around the warrior as he charged forward, but neither he nor his horse were hit. A thunderstorm suddenly appeared over the warrior. He was struck by a bolt of lightning, which left a lightning symbol down his cheek, and white marks like hailstones appeared on his body. The warrior then spoke to Crazy Horse and told him that, as long as he dressed modestly, his tribesmen did not touch him, and he did not take any scalps or war trophies, then he would not be harmed in battle. As the vision ended, he heard a red-tailed hawk shrieking off in the distance. Crazy Horse would abide by the knowledge given from this warrior for the rest of his life. Crazy Horse began to make a reputation for himself through the late 1850s and early 60s. His first kill was a Shoshone raider who had murdered a Lakota woman while she washed buffalo meat along the Powder River. He fought in many battles between the Great Plains and fought in the Battle of Platte Bridge and the Battle of Red Boots. Due to his fighting ability and generosity to his tribe, in 1865 he was given the title Shirtwearer or War Leader by the tribe. Crazy Horse went on to fight in many battles and help in quite a few ambushes against the US soldiers, earning himself great respect and honor among his tribe. But it was the events that transpired in the Great Sioux War of 1876 that Crazy Horse's name was etched into history. On June 17, 1876, Crazy Horse led a combined group of approximately 1,500 Lakota and Cheyenne warriors in a surprise attack against Brigadier General George Crook in the Battle of the Rosebud. The battle was a victory for the Lakota warriors, despite the US soldiers not suffering a substantial amount of human losses. It acted to delay them from joining the 7th Cavalry by George A. Custer. A week later, at 3 p.m. on June the 25th, Custer's 7th Cavalry attacked a large encampment of Cheyenne and Lakota bands along the Little Bighorn River. Everyone knows the story of Little Bighorn, but Crazy Horse's involvement in the battle is a little bit more ambiguous. Some historians think that Crazy Horse led a flanking assault on Custer, but others question the evidence behind this claim. One thing is known for sure about Crazy Horse in this battle, and that is that he fought valiantly. Here are some quotes from other Native American warriors about Crazy Horse during the battle. Crazy Horse was the bravest man I ever saw. He rode closest to the soldiers, yelling to his warriors. All the soldiers were shooting at him, but he was never hit. The greatest fighter in the whole battle was Crazy Horse. Following the Battle of Little Bighorn, Crazy Horse was involved in a few more battles against the US troops, but through the winter of 1877, his troops struggled to survive. Crazy Horse decided that the best course of action for his band was to surrender to the US troops. He went to Fort Robinson in Nebraska. On May 5th, Crazy Horse and other leaders arrived at the Red Cloud Agency near Fort Robinson to begin their formal surrender. He lived here for the next 4 months, but tensions rose during his time there. He was asked by Lieutenant Clark to join the US Army and fight against the Nez Perce tribe who had broken out of their reservation. Crazy Horse refused, stating that he had promised to remain at peace when he surrendered. With the troubles growing in the Red Cloud Agency, General George Crook was ordered to stop by. He was incorrectly told that Crazy Horse was planning to kill him and ordered his arrest. On the morning of September 5th, Crazy Horse and Lieutenant Lee departed for Fort Robinson. They arrived that evening. Lee was informed that he was to turn Crazy Horse to the officer of the day, and he was to be arrested and taken under the cover of darkness to division headquarters. Crazy Horse was taken to the post guardhouse. Once inside, a struggle ensued with the guard. In the struggle, he was stabbed with a bayonet by one of the guards and died later that night. The following morning, his body was turned over to his elderly parents. His final resting place remains unknown, but most historians believe it to be near Wounded Knee in South Dakota. Crazy Horse lived an incredible life. He stood up for his people and lived on his own terms. We will end on a quote from the American writer Ian Fraser that I believe does a great job on encapsulating Crazy Horse. Even the most basic outline of his life shows how great he was, because he remained himself from the moment of his birth to the moment he died. Because though he may have surrendered, he was never defeated in battle. Because although he was killed, even the army admitted he was never captured. His dislike of the oncoming civilization was prophetic. Unlike many people all over the world, when he had met white men, he was not diminished by the encounter.